And today there has been a big development that has taken place in country's military prowess, where the Indian Navy Chief Admiral R. Hari Kumar unveiled the inaugural domestically produced Drishti 10 Starliner Unmanned Aerial Vehicle. This is a massive push to India's defense Aatmanirbharta. During the launch, Admiral Hari Kumar lauded the Adani group of companies' efforts in aligning its roadmap to the Navy's requirements and establishing an ecosystem of the partners and capabilities to enable Aatmanirbharta in defense and security. Drishti Starliner has an endurance of 36 hours and a 450 kg payload. It is the only all-weather military platform with NATO's STANAG 4671 certification for the UAV system's airworthiness. To understand this big development and what are the key characteristics and salient points of Drishti 10 Starliner, let's start my conversation. I'm going to get in Captain Sanjay Karve on the telecast with me. Captain Karve, another feather in the cap of the Indian Navy with this UAV that has been made part of the Indian Navy, and the kind of impetus that the Indian Navy has got after a private company, the Adani group of companies, has spearheaded the Aatmanirbhar defense program of our country.
Good afternoon. If you look at our history, when we talk of Aatmanirbharta, this is something which was lacking in armed forces, production of equipment or utilization of equipment or war machinery. This production of UAV or manufacture of an indigenous UAV is another big step forward. However, you cannot say that this is the only step forward. We have had Vikram, we have had India manufacturing its own aircraft, its own battle tanks, its own guns. In fact, the first baby steps were taken when the HF-24 Marut, which was manufactured way back in the early 60s by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Unfortunately, in India since then, all arms manufacturing has been restricted only to the PSUs, which was one of the things which was holding the production or the progress downwards. Most of the developed countries, people who are manufacturing arms, they are being manufactured by private companies. If you look at the US war machine, 95% of the equipment comes from private companies, whether it is a Boeing, whether it is General Dynamics, whether it is Lockheed Martin. Yes, it is a big step forward because till now we have been taking UAVs primarily from Israel.
Okay.
And as far as the Navy is concerned, with a huge ocean to monitor, we do require something like a UAV, and a 36 hours endurance is definitely worth the weight which the Indian Navy has done.
Okay. Major General A.K. Sivaj, quickly understanding from you the strategic importance of this big development, this manufacturing of an indigenous UAV. Like Captain Sanjay Karve said that at one point of time we used to end up importing these UAVs, these drones from Israel. Now, is our reliance on important defense equipment, particularly these drones, going to reduce exponentially?
Very correct. You see, Megha, what has happened is in last about 10 to 15 years, the export has increased and import has decreased considerably. India has started manufacturing most of the weapon itself. And UAV, this one which has been now manufactured by Adani Defense in collaboration with the aerospace, is a point in case. This is a state-of-art UAV, which is one of the best in the world with 450 kg payload, have endurance of 36 hours, can work in a hostile environment. And the another advantage of this UAV is that this has got a technology which is not found in majority of the UAV of modern era. So this is a game changer to me. But it looks like that the way India is going in Aatmanirbhar, Make in India concept, you know, the slogan Make in India, Make for World is not truly coming. Now last year, we have managed to export almost 16,000 crore. That is about $1.9 billion. And earlier, say 10 years.
Right. All right. I'm going to quickly getting my other panelists as well on the telecast in just a short moment. But big achievement by the Indian Navy, and also it is heartening to know that there is private sector that is gunning for Make in India Aatmanirbharta defense program, and that is one stellar example of that. Quickly getting in Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. He is a former DG Infantry, Global Strategic Defense expert. Now, how do we move forward, sir, in wake of the push that has seen billions of dollars infused into the Aatmanirbhar defense initiative? There have been several of these announcements that have been done, manufacturing of defense equipment, the likes of the big investment deal, the big manufacturing of the indigenous UAV. But where do we move forward from here?
Megha, what's very important today is, in the present scenario, when we see what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, what's going on in Israel and Hamas, you see the whole lot of developments that are taking place. What just happened in Armenia and Azerbaijan. In the present day context, it's absolutely essential that you need to be self-reliant. And in that process, the Aatmanirbharta, which is being spoken about much before all these developments have taken place, would actually take us. You never know whether the wars are going to be short, wars are going to be long. Everybody thought Ukraine, Russia, maybe a month or so. Everybody thought, the Israel-Hamas, maybe a 10-day affair. But now we know 4 months, 2 years. So things you cannot be dependent on anybody else. So in that process, this Aatmanirbhar in defense is an absolute essential thing. We were, for all these years, been the largest importer. We are slowly and steadily now getting into export. As you heard, from $1.5 billion, we intend to move up to $5 billion and export, and slowly and steadily, whether it is in small arms, whether it is in tanks, whether it is in the aircrafts, whether it is in submarines, whether it is in ships, anything and everything, until and unless we become Aatmanirbhar, it will be very, very difficult for us to survive, because we cannot be dependent on anybody. And in that context,
fair enough. Yeah. So then, looking back, Captain Karve, why have we been limited in our position to build, manufacture defense equipment? We have continued to rely on Russia, we have continued to rely on Israel, we have continued to rely on United States of America. Why is it that we have up until now not been able to use our potential of manufacturing defense equipment that is important for any country, for strategic reasons, for security reasons?
For over the last 6 decades or 7 decades, we had got into a mindset that anything to do with the armed forces or anything to do with manufacturing of weapons or equipment for armed forces have to be under government control. It cannot be left to a private organization. We very conveniently forgot that the equipment that we are importing from the foreign nations, whether it was the USSR, whether it was USA, France or Germany, they were all being manufactured by private companies with the support of their own governments. It was like the general pointed out that over a period of time, it has dawned on the policy makers that there is a need to involve the private sector also into manufacture, and they can be relied upon. If you look at the submarine manufacture or the ships, slowly and steadily, the private sector have come in and helped us out. And that is the only way to move forward, where the DRDO has to let go of its patents, get private party involved, give them all the support required. The government needs to give them all the support, which they are doing. Today, one of the clauses for importing any equipment is there has to be transfer of technology, there has to be a buyback, and the foreign vendor has to interact or has to deal with an Indian agency to manufacture the equipment in India.
Okay, all right. Major Sivach, the fighter jet deal that had been signed when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in United States of America, and now GE Aeronautics has come up with a timeline as to when this project is going to be started off in collaboration with HAL. And it continues to be an important factor for India to take the technology, learn the technology, whether it is USSR or whether it is America, can there be a timeline that can be set for us, our private companies and enterprises, and the government will that is required to build this technology, to build these engines in the country? Why do we continue to look towards Germany or America or Russia to get the state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art engines? Because that's the core part of any weapon, any defense equipment, fighter jets that are being built. A quick question mark, if we are able to send the Chandrayaan-3 mission, which is a success, if we are able to then move forward and carry out the ambitious project of Gaganyaan, what is stopping us from building these fighter jets from scratch?
Absolutely. See, Megha, it takes time. In the sense, the mindset has to change. Now our mindset has changed. 2 defense corridors have come. One in south in Bangalore, another in Lucknow in UP. Now the industry has started booming up. Defense industry has start coming. It is the mindset of the government also makes a difference. Now remember that there are more than 200 items which have been put on a negative list of import. You are not going to import it. You have to go into manufacture in India itself. That has given push to public and private sector. There is a huge competition which has come up. What rightly said, the G414 engine, which will be collaborated between HAL and by the US. Now, this is a state of art. It's a critical technology. You must have a capability to absorb also. Now we are in position to absorb. We are working on complete transfer of technology, and time will come when we will start manufacturing our itself. Because from one baby step, we are now growing up a country which will able to export. Remember, as far as the jet engine is concerned, even China do not manufacture. It takes from Russia. So therefore, there are very few countries. But what is heartening is last about 10 years, the advancement which we have made, the mindset which we have changed, that we initially used to think anything to defense, we will import. Now we are thinking anything with defense will export. You know, this has changed the mindset today. Make in India, make for world. So slowly and steadily, our capabilities are changing.
Okay.
We are now absorbing the technology from outside and now enlarging. I can only say, Megha, BrahMos missile we are exporting now. We are Tejas Mark 1 Alpha. We are exporting Akash missile, Nag missile. Then we are exporting the RT guns. And we are start manufacturing ourselves. Who could have dreamt 15 years back that we can make aircraft carrier? INS Vikranti indigenous, which are almost about 80% is parts are all made in India. So I think it took us time. There I durust hai. Now we should take
there I
on from
durust hai. Then Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, what is the gestation period? What is it, the end goal? How much is the time that can be guaranteed by the Indian Armed Forces and the Government of India in conjunction with private players in the defense sector to be able to be completely indigenous?
See, it all depends. Now, for instance, let's take the case of this UAV by Adani. It's been 10 months. From the time it was conceptualized, given an order, and they have delivered in 10 months. Now we have another small arms, which the DRDO, another Hyderabad firm is gone in for it. Maybe another year or so, the small arms, it has to undergo various trials. But all said and done, what earlier would take years on, and sometimes, for I would say decades on, and nothing would be happening. It isn't like that anymore. With the private players, all of them, where it's capital intensive, everybody is expecting returns to come to them fast. And very, very important for us is the state of technology, the state of the art technology to be absorbed, the generation of employment to be created, sustenance, maintenance, and thereafter upgradation. All of it being done in India. Otherwise, you can well imagine a $3 billion contract for Predators, where 15 will go to the Navy, 8 each of them will go to the Air Force and the Army. Imagine a $3 billion contract. In the same amount, you could achieve much more. And that is where it is very all of us to ensure that until and unless we are Aatmanirbharta, we will not be able to go forward. And therefore, it's very important for all of us to ensure that Aatmanirbharta is the order of the day. not just the absorption of technology, the private players are far too many and willing to come forward with their capital, with their technology, and together the synergy will ensure that we are on the right path and in a very, very short time. You
Okay.
can safely say in another a decade or so, we'll be right up there where we'll be one amongst the 5 top exporters of the high-tech equipment from India.
Okay, so then moving forward, Captain Karve, an obvious question comes to mind. Which are the key countries that India is then already exporting to, and which are the potential countries where exports can happen? We already see some countries in the ASEAN region where with exports of Indian defense equipment happens, but which is the periphery that India can at this point chart to send out to export its defense equipment?
Meda, the Southeast Asian countries, the African countries, and South America. These are the nations which India needs to target to sell its arms and ammunition or the equipment that we manufacture. The aircraft that we have, the LCA Mark II, which comes up, Mark 1 Alpha and the Mark II, which is coming up, it is as good an aircraft like any other aircraft in the world. And once the GE engine comes in, it will be comparable with any aircraft in the world of its generation at practically 1/3 of the cost. Every nation, finally, when it decides to buy military equipment, also looks at the financials. Like one of the reasons, in addition to the embargo and things like that, why was India always dependent on the USSR equipment? It was much cheaper than what we got from USA or France or Germany. A cursory look at the cost of the aircraft and the ships purchased from the Western countries and the Russia would straight away tell you the amount of savings that the nation had incurred during these purchases. So Southeast Asian countries, African countries, and South America are the nations that we are already targeting.
Okay.
Our aircraft teams and other teams are already in these countries. The defense attaches have been given a task, a clear-cut task for the first time in Indian history, that they need to promote the sale of Indian equipment or Indian defense equipment in these countries.
Okay. Another point of view when it comes to India's diplomacy and strategic interests in building associations and friendship with the rest of the world. Major General Sivach, it's a tough, long-drawn bargain for India to collaborate with United States of America to allow for their technology to be transferred and brought into India, or for that matter, the French, Russia. So it takes certain amount of persuasion for receiving this technology from these countries and training our personnel, training our people to build this sophisticated technology to make the fighter jets and other defense equipment. Now, is this also then in some way detrimental for India's powerful stance that it takes, and are there favors to be curried where these allies of India can then take advantage of the fact that India is still not a defense manufacturing power?
Mega, it always take a time to digest the technology. Transfer of technology, easy said than done. You have to be at par. And I suppose the time has come that if we are now transferring this technology of G414, which has been transferred from US to HAL, HAL is now empowered to do it, and it's capable of digesting that technology and manufacture jet engine within India itself. And the same way it is coming also from once we are purchasing from France and once we are purchasing from Israel. But what is heartening is that we are spending money on R&D. Remember that we were the one country that we want to manufacture weapons, but we don't want to spend money on R&D. You have to spend some money on R&D so that your system becomes capable of absorbing the latest technology. I think our mindset has changed now, and the world has also recognized that India's capability of manufacturing weapon itself, which are state of art. What we said, Tejas Mark II will be also a fifth generation aircraft. So that itself shows that India can manufacture. Remember this BrahMos missile, which is a joint production of India and Russia, is being now asked for so many countries in the Southeast Asia, whether it is Philippines, whether it is Indonesia, Vietnam, they are asking. The African countries are asking, Latin America countries are asking. So there is a market which is growing, and they are having a confidence in Indian defense equipment. That is a matter where we can feel proud of it. And next thing is our private sector is coming up. It is collaborating with public sector. And
absolutely. Okay, all right. Quickly then, a last word from you, Lieutenant General Kulkarni. You know, another important and dangerous aspect that India has to at this point of time keep in mind. This is with regards to not just the belligerence that we witnessed along the line of actual control or the LOC. We also take a look at these troubleshooting measures that we need to come up with when it comes to the Myanmar border along Manipur. When we take a look at Lakshadweep and how China at this point of time is aiming in possibly building these military bases. We take a look at Sri Lanka and how India is at this point of time a point of vulnerability because there are these seaports that are being given on a platter by the Sri Lankans for the Chinese infrastructure to be built. Similar is the case with Maldives. So, the danger is multifold and therefore this is necessary. And that's why the stance that India has taken, the resources that are at this point of time being put in, the private sector that is being included and invited with open arms. So it's a means to an end.
Absolutely, Megha. It's a need of the hour. The varied kind of terrain, the varied kind of climatic conditions, the varied nature under which, whether it's in the oceans, whether it's in the high altitude and everywhere. And you see the kind where the China is going all about it. So until and unless we are Aatmanirbharta, unless and until we are self-reliant, it will almost be impossible for us to be able to cope up. Economically, we are the 5th largest economy today. We slowly and steadily in the next about 10 years become the 3rd largest economy. So until and unless you are strong militarily, you cannot develop economically, you cannot have teeth diplomatically. And therefore, it's absolutely essential that for deterrence, we are not there to wage a war, but we are here to ensure preventing a war, for allowing us to grow economically, allowing us to use our technology. And here's a country with a manpower which is technologically absolutely class. We can absorb, we can deliver. Look at our startups that have come up over there. All of it with the private the institutes, technologies, the IITs, the private intakes. There's no dearth of manpower and technical manpower, intelligent, brilliant manpower which can absorb and manufacture and be allowed to go and be able to deliver bang on time. Things being delivered in 10 months, certain things being delivered in 3 months, certain things being delivered in 5 years. And so therefore, we are sticking to the timelines and being able to cope up with any kind of threats and challenges, be it in the oceans, be it in the air, or be it in the high altitude, be it anywhere along the LOC or the LAC, no problem. So therefore, the need is to be able to have that power, deterrence. And the best way to prevent a war is to be ready for a war. We are not warmongers. We aren't going for it. But preparation for it is very, very essential. And all of it self-reliant. And therefore, since India uses all kinds of terrains and technologies and is also a leader in the global south, you find a whole lot of these countries will be looking up to India, where India doesn't earn profits, but ensures that they also develop and they are also strengthened and secured in terms of being able to take off.
All right. I only have as much time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. But taking a look at India, that decades ago was a subservient nation. It was not able to protect its borders on the northern front. We had to unfortunately let go of Aksai Chin. We have had these skirmishes that have taken place in Ladakh. We have had a tumultuous border conflict with Pakistan, and it has at this point of time, thankfully, on the western front, line of control has been taken control of. Peace has been established by India. Therefore, a powerful, militarily strong country is then going to ensure that there is deterrence measures being taken for the enemies that surround India, for a lesson that needs to be taught to them. And they dare not look at India with the point of belligerence and aggression that they at this point of time are looking to build against India.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.